As hard as it might be to imagine, there was once a time when all you had to do to get a job was fill out an application, talk briefly to someone in human resources, and agree to start working the following Monday. But for most of us, the process of securing employment has been much more complex. We compete against a huge pool of other workers, need to fight through many layers of people who only want to screen us out of the process, and often spend weeks or even months searching. As a matter of fact, the most current statistics from the U.S. Department of Labor indicate that the average length of unemployment for today's worker is more than 17 weeks. Another study tracked a portion of the workforce and showed that people born between 1957 and 1964 held an average of 10.2 jobs from age 18 to 38. So if you're in today's workforce, you're changing jobs more often and spending more time unemployed between jobs. Our objective in this video is to help you better understand different job search techniques so you can decrease the amount of time it takes you to find the job that you want. That means you'll start earning a paycheck even sooner. Let's start by looking at traditional job search methods. The most common methods are reading the want ads in newspapers and online, sending out resumes in bulk through the mail and through email, filling out applications, and registering with employment services.
You have to remember that millions of other people can also look at that same job opening. So when an employer posts a job opening and you're applying for it, that is open to the universe of people out there. Take a website like Monster.com or Career Builder. Enormous numbers of people are going there every day. And most of those jobs are actually advertised in the local paper as well. So you have a large number of people, even larger than it used to be when it was just in the newspaper. You have now people out of state, from other countries even, students who don't buy newspapers. The numbers are enormous. And so when an employer posts a job out there that sounds reasonably attractive and that you would qualify for, the competition for that particular position is often immense. Many, many people are going to be applying for it, as you will. And your chances of getting through and making an impact there are that much more reduced.
The truth is, traditional job search tactics still work. As a matter of fact, about 1/3 of newly hired employees actually find their jobs by using these methods. But what about the other 2/3? Most job seekers land their jobs because the employer knows them before a job ever becomes available, or because someone they know makes a personal referral. Let's take a look at how this works. In the first stage, there's no job opening. In the traditional job search, there would be no basis for an interview. Most job seekers completely ignore the opportunity that exists in this situation. However, smart employers are always looking for good workers, and smart job seekers will make themselves known to potential employers, even in this early stage. As time passes, there comes a point where, while no formal job opening exists, one or more insiders at a company knows of a possibility. It could be that business is increasing, a current employee isn't performing well, or someone is planning to leave. Even the boss may not know, and if you ask, you'd probably be told that no job is available. Job seekers following traditional methods would move on, never knowing that a golden opportunity was bubbling just beneath the surface. As more time passes, the boss will finally say there is a job opening and someone is needed to fill the position. However, days or weeks may go by before that job will be advertised. In large corporations, it may take time before the Human Resources Department gets involved or before people in other departments become aware of openings. Again, traditional job search techniques will not uncover the opportunity here. If a job opening does not get filled by someone the employer knows during these early stages, then and only then will the job be made public. At this point, want ads are placed, employment services are notified, internet listings are posted, and signs are hung in the window. During this stage, all job seekers will know about the job, and your resume can likely get buried in the stacks of applications.
It's mentally and physically exhausting. Going through a stack of resumes and knowing that this is your full-time job for at least 2 weeks to get the right candidate for the right job. And the other thing that's mentally exhausting about the whole process is anyone can look good on paper.
Well, I've been doing this a long time, and yes, I would say I've had a bad experience from hiring from a one ad. Probably have had bad experiences from hiring from recruiters as well. You know, you really don't know You get a lot of applications in, and it's very difficult to screen. You do everything you can, you test, you check references, but you know, at the end of the day, after 2 or 3 weeks of employment, you tend to find out, and yes, there's been some bad experiences through that vehicle.
I had an experience one time when I was the office manager in a small advertising agency in St. Louis. We posted the job, I had the stack of resumes, I picked out a handful of candidates. The woman that we hired, her resume was great, cover letter was great, her interview was great, and her references checked out. She showed up the first day for the job. The second day she called in and quit. So how was I to know whether or not that would happen? What the key indicator, for me, would have been a character reference from somebody else other than the references she stated. If I would have known this person through a personal referral or through a networking process, I might have understood where she's coming from and whether or not the job was a proper fit for her or not.
Okay, so traditional job search methods can work, but they take a lot of time. And many of the best jobs are filled before they're even made known to the general public. So how do you win access to these opportunities and find the job of your dreams in less time?
So when you're looking for a job, it's not just looking for available openings. What counts as an interview is actually something a little different, and you have to remember what this is. And that is, I'm going out looking for people who are in a position to hire or supervise someone with my skills, whether or not they have a job opening today. So maybe they don't have something open. It's not on the web, it's not in the want ads. Maybe they don't even have a formal job opening that's described right now. But if they are in a position to hire or supervise someone with your skills, there's still a target for you to go in and talk to, and that counts as an interview.
Changing the game means changing the way you think about and act on your job search. Let's look again at Mike's new definition of an interview. It's any face-to-face contact with a person who hires or supervises a person with your skills, even if they don't have a job opening right now. Using this new definition changes the landscape for your job search. It increases the number of potential employers you can pursue because you aren't limiting yourself to just the ones with published openings. Shifting how you think about interviews should also increase the sheer number of interviews you'll have.
Well, you can think of the job search as a numbers game, if you will. I hate to do that, but it's somewhat true. And that is, the average person who's unemployed is going to be out there looking for 12 to 16 weeks or so. That's a long period of time to be out of work. And during that time, they get a certain number of interviews set up. And the average is around 2 or 3 interviews a week. Now think about this. What would happen is if you got, say, double that amount of interviews. So you went from 2 or 3 to 4 to 6, or even 3 times as many, 9 or 10 or more interviews a week. Now that sounds like a high number, but it's only 2 a day. So can you find ways to get 2 interviews a day? Now remember, I'm thinking that an interview is not just looking for an available job opening. It's out there looking for someone who hires or supervises people with your skills. They may not have a job opening now, but they might later, and that counts as an interview. Well, anything that you can do to increase the number of interviews you get each week tends to have the result of reducing the amount of time before you get a job offer.
Preparing yourself for this new approach to interviews is crucial. Consider these 2 factors in your preparation. What kind of job do you want? And what value do you have to offer an employer? Before we continue with the next sections of this video, you might want to pause and take a few moments to write down the answers to these 2 questions. Make sure to keep your answers very brief and to the point. Let's start this segment by reviewing the new definition of an interview. It's any face-to-face contact with a person who hires or supervises a person with your skills, even if they don't have a job opening right now. But just how do you apply this definition to help you find a job in a short time? One of the techniques that has proven most successful is networking. Now, I know what you're going to say. Networking is some big, scary concept that requires special training or some secret personality trait that you don't have. You couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah, the old idea of networking was that you went out and talked to one employer and you asked them if they don't have a job opening now, or even if they did, to give you names of 2 other employers that you could talk to. And that does count as networking, because then you go out and talk to those 2 people, probably in the same field, probably also employers. And that's the ideal. But the problem is that most of us don't know too many employers who have job openings right now. So where do you start? And you may be intimidated by them, or they may be uncooperative. Well, instead of that, you can also start with virtually anyone you know, preferably someone who knows something about your field. They might be an employer, maybe not, but you can still talk to those people. And that could be a relative, a friend, or someone that they know. So interviewing is basically going out and talk to the people you know and asking them for names of people who come a little closer to knowing somebody, or even having a job opening in your area, or knowing someone who's more likely to know about it. So all of that is it's not that complex. You just start with one person, you go out and tell them what you're looking for, you try to present to them the skills that you have to do that position, and then ask them if they know of anyone else who'd be helpful to you that you would go out and talk to. You keep doing that, that's networking.
See, that's not so bad. Now let's go back to the exercise you did at the end of the previous section. Pull out your description of the job you're looking for and the value you bring to an employer. Underneath those statements, start writing down all the people you know. List friends, family members, neighbors, previous coworkers, current coworkers, people from your exercise class, people who provide you with professional services like haircuts, insurance, lawn care, or child care. Don't forget to list the people that you went to school with, people from your church, people who belong to your clubs and other organizations, and people you always see at the grocery store, the bank, the pharmacy, the dry cleaners, or the post office. Starting with this list of people, you'll build your own personal network. It's simple. Just be prepared to do 3 things with each contact. First, be clear about what you want from them. Second, in just a sentence or 2, describe the type of job you want and why you're qualified to do that job. And third, ask each contact these 3 questions. Do you know of a job opening for a person with my skills? If they answer no, ask, do you know of anyone else who might know of such a job? If the answer is still no, ask this final question. Do you know of a person who knows a lot of other people? Your goal will be to get 2 contact names from each person you approach. This is networking, and it has the potential to help you find the 70 to 75% of job openings that never get advertised. People who only use traditional job search techniques will never find these hidden job openings. Remember, an interview is any face-to-face contact with a person who hires or supervises a person with your skills, even if they don't have a job opening now. So if you can just make contact with potential employers by talking to people who know people, you may quickly find yourself talking to someone who is hiring a person just like you.
Anytime you can get a personal reference from an associate, I think that's the best opportunity. We have a very lucrative plan for our employees who bring in or recommend people that we provide them some compensation if they give us a referral, and those tend to be our best employees over the long haul. Anytime you have a personal reference from someone you know, I think it really does. That's the best way to recruit.
Today's technology offers an alternative way to expand your personal network. This is one area where the internet can be extremely useful in your job search. There are online networking services that enable you to connect with others specifically for your job search.
The next thing to do is think about more specialized sites. Do you have a college alumni site? Well, sure, you do. Do you have a high school site? Or do you belong to clubs or organizations? Are there professional associations that you could join or that are related to the occupation you're looking for? Are there specific employer sites? So once you've identified an employer, you could go to their website. Many of those websites provide information on job openings and even allow you to interact with instant messages and other ways through their websites to employees. And you can find people doing similar kind of work. Now this is where the action is, I think, on the web. instead of being impersonal, putting your information out there for lots of people to respond to, it allows you to be more active in the job search. You go out, look for information, try to make contacts with people, extend your network, if you will, with people who you come to know. You have some kind of a common bond, and then follow up with them via the web. Very, very powerful tool.
Beyond your personal network, you can also reach prospective employers by doing your homework. The internet, the yellow pages of the phone book, and your own observations give you easy access to hundreds of potential employers. You just have to be brave enough to try.
Part of the frustration is waiting around at home, and you only have so many leads to follow, it seems. You look at the want ads, you look at the web, you've done the things that you're supposed to do, and you're sitting there running out of ideas. Well, one thing that you can do is you can aggressively go out and contact employers who may or may not have a job opening now, but certainly would need a person with your skills. And let me give you an example. It used to be the yellow pages, a very, very important source of job leads. Well, it's now also the same list of employers is on the web, whether you use it as yellowpages.com or whether you use the actual Yellow Pages. You think in terms of, well, what skills do I have and what types of organizations would employ or need a person with those skills? Well, look them up. Go to the Yellow Pages section. It'll tell you the kinds of groups of organizations like hospitals, healthcare facilities. Would they need a person with my accounting skills? Well, maybe they would. And you go through the list, and that's why I like the print pages. They're actually better for doing this. And you check off the ones that you're really interested in. You can pick up the phone and make a call and say, hi, my name is, I'm interested in this kind of a position. Put me in touch with the person most likely to hire a person with my skills. Set up an interview. Now, this takes some courage, but you can now make direct contacts with them.
This technique is often referred to as cold calling in sales. You're approaching a potential employer without any personal referral or connection. Cold calling can be difficult and discouraging. However, there are specific things you can do to improve your success rate. First, be prepared. Use the resources you have to gather as much information as possible about the company. The internet is a very good source of this type of information. So is the local library, the local business journal, and the local newspaper. Next, write up a sample script for what you want to say. Think about how you want to start the conversation. Make sure to identify who you are and why you're calling. Be specific, but be brief. It's a good idea to practice this conversation out loud. Ask your family or friends to help you out with this. It's important that you set realistic expectations. Cold calling can be very discouraging. Just remember, the worst thing that anyone can say to you is no. But even if they insist there's no job available, ask to speak with them just to learn about their company and their specific job.